Welcome everybody to Train Tuesday. So glad to have you on board. If you're catching me on the live stream, thank you. Want to show my appreciation for all of my live guests here tonight. Also, if you're catching us on the YouTube channel, then thank you for finding us. If you like the content that you see there, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you are notified of future videos that drop. So we're going to be talking Athearn Genesis tonight. We're going to be talking Athearn Genesis GP9s. And so we've got a lot of ground to cover. So before we get started, let's do what we always do. Let's see who's joining us tonight. I see Donnie, Glenn, Terry, Delta 9, Model Railroading in the Southwest, Lewis, Jerry, Joe, Anthony, DG Model Works is in the house, Jason, Elko Man Kyle, another Jason, Gary, Ronald, just to name a few. So thank you for joining us. So glad to have you here tonight. And we're going to get started here in just a little bit. Like I said, we're going to be talking Athearn Genesis GP9s. And we've got a little bit of everything for everyone. We've got roads from the West Coast, the East Coast, the Midwest, as well as the South. So we've got a little bit of everything. And before we get started, let's do one more round of shout outs. I see Wolfgang, Tom, Chessie, Rick, Colin, BNSF 9708, Toledo Railfan, Ethan, and Alexander, just to name a few. So thank you for joining us. Let's get started with another Train Tuesday. Now, I wanted to start by showing one of the previous renditions of the Athearn Genesis GP9 that we did a couple of years ago. This is one that we offered a couple of years back. You may still find it in a hobby shop, but you may not as well. It's been out for a number of years. But if you're not familiar with the Genesis GP9, this will give you an idea of the level of detail that these have. Now, a little bit about the GP9. It was back in 1959, EMD upgraded the GP7 to become a 1,750 horsepower GP9. Now, externally, the GP9s were virtually unchanged from the GP7s. Later versions, however, would include different louver arrangements, and the last ones would come without the frame skirting. Now, the GP9 was available with all of the fuel tank, steam generator, and dynamic brake options, the same ones as the GP7. And that was including the torpedo tube air tanks mounted on the roof. We'll actually talk a little bit about that here coming up real soon. So there you have it. There is the Southern number 6263 situated there for you to view. That was available last time. Let's see what's available for pre-order. You have until Friday, May 26th to complete your pre-orders. So we're going to start by talking about the Union Pacific. Now, during the late 1960s, UP modified some of their GP9 fleet with these large snowplows that came from retired steam locomotives. UP called these pilot snowplows, but because of where they served, rail fans simply referred to these as branch line plows. To combat areas with high snowfall during the winter months, the UP would run these GP9s to help clear out snow on some of their branch lines where lighter weight power was needed. So here we've got three different road numbers that we're going to offer for you. First one that we'll take a look at is Union Pacific 146. This is a 1960s version. This has the Western Coolant beacon, small numbers on the ends and number boards, and the whip antenna. Union Pacific number 149, also a 1960s era locomotive. This is going to have the xenon strobe beacon, large numbers on the ends and number boards, and it too, or actually this one will have the firecracker antenna. Last but not least, number 165, again, 1960s era. This has got the Western Coolant beacon, small numbers on ends, and large number board font. This will have a whip antenna. Now, those are the features specific to those three locomotives. All three of these locomotives will have Union Pacific features, including the newly tooled branch line front plow and cut levers. Now, if you've seen pictures of these branch line or snow plows, they literally came from steam locomotives, and the way that they were situated under the front plow meant that the cut lever that we've had in past productions would not work out well in this situation. So that's all new tooling to accommodate these new plows. These are also going to feature the early pipe style handrails with newly tooled correct front end rail. The beacon strobe effect is workable if you go for the Tsunami 2 Dakota version. They're all going to have 1,200 gallon fuel tanks, phase 2 Union Pacific body, hood mounted horn, roof cab vent, and winterization hatch. So there you have it if you're a Union Pacific fan, especially with the 1960s. It's the first time we've offered these with the branch line plows, so you're going to want to take advantage of that. Coming up next, we've got some Southern Pacific. Now, during the 1970s, the Southern Pacific began an ambitious task to rebuild their GP9 fleet known as the GRIP program. The program included new wiring, new main generator, complete rebuild of the prime mover with new parts, improved battery box doors, and removed rear light packages in some cases. These are the perfect candidate for Genesis because, like it said, rear light packages removed in some cases, depends on the prototype. Now we're offering two here from the 1970s as well as one from the 1980s. Now Southern Pacific number 3380, this is a 1970s. It's a phase 2 grip rebuild E with the front SP full light package, early modified skirts, modified catch style pilots. Likewise, number 3380, also a 1970s. This is a phase 2 grip rebuild E. It also features the front SP full light package, late modified skirts, large plows on both ends, long hood paper air filter box. Flash forward to the 1980s, we have 3882. This is a late phase 3 grip rebuild E with the low nose, front and rear SP light full light packages, and modified skirts, modified catch style pilots. So whether you're modeling the 70s or the 80s, these are definitely really unique locomotives that you can add to your fleet. Southern Pacific was known for their grip rebuild program and certainly kept these GP9s on the high iron for a number of years. Now the features for all three of these, again, these are based on the SP grip rebuilds program, so that's going to have the replacement battery box doors. They're all going to have Nathan P3 horns. The SP light package with working gyrolight effect is available if you go with the Tsunami 2 version. SP light package, of course, the road number specific details and red warning lights, which are non-operational. All right, so we talked a little bit about some West Coast lines. Let's go to the Midwest. Here we have the Chicago Northwestern. Now, the three Athearn Genesis Chicago Northwestern GP9s in this release were built in 1957 to 1958 and were largely unchanged all the way until retirement, which is really unusual, especially for a GP9. They served the CNW well in freight service and relative obscurity for many years. So a lot of these guys just kept on keeping on. So while we're offering these as they looked in the mid 1960s, you could definitely weather these guys up and use them in the 70s or 80s. We're offering three different road numbers in this run. We're offering number 1737, 1741, and 1756, all representative of their 1960s paint scheme. All three of these will have roof-mounted torpedo air reservoirs, rooftop beacons, which will function if you get the Tsunami 2, wind deflectors, winterization hatch, and an option all-weather cab windows. Now these all-weather cab windows, they are included. You'll have to put those on yourself. They're going to be available in a small poly bag within the box. Going from the Midwest, we're going to go to the East Coast now. And we're going to talk a little bit about the New York Central. New York Central received these steam generator equipped units in late 1955. They were used on local, secondary, and commuter trains, mainly on the western end of the system. Now, one of the things that you're going to want to take note on these is these were set up to run long hood forward. That was pretty common for some of the East Coast railroads at the time, especially a commuter locomotive. We're offering 3 different paint schemes. There's some subtle differences you'll see, but for this run, this is mid-1960s paint. We've got 7503, 7514, and 7517. Again, take a close look at these pictures that you see on your screen. There are some subtle differences as far as the markings and the logos. Now, these are all going to feature the late New York Central paint schemes, wind deflectors, steam generators, nose-mounted bell, which again is on the long hood. They are set up from the factory. If you get the Tsunami 2s, they're going to be set up to run long hood forward per the prototype, roof-mounted torpedo air reservoirs, external train control generator mounted on the engineer's side of the short nose. That's a neat detail that Athearn Genesis is definitely not going to forget. Staying on that side of the country, but going a little bit more forward in time, we go to the Penn Central. Penn Central is either you love it or you hate it railroad, but you know what? There's a lot of fans out there for the Penn Central, so we wanted to offer these 2 road numbers. These dual service steam generator equipped GP9s became part of the Penn Central fleet when New York Central and Pennsylvania railroads both merged in 1968. These are based on a paint scheme that is from the late 1960s and certainly can run right up to Conrail, so we're talking mid-1970s. We've got 7500 and 7506. Both locomotives will have the steam generators, the nose-mounted bell. These, since they are former New York Central, they are going to be set up for long hood operation. They have roof-mounted torpedo air reservoirs and wind deflectors. So even if you're modeling early Conrail, you can probably justify getting a pair of these guys. I know I'm going to probably have to snag at least one of these for my layout. Now, here's one that I think a lot of you guys did not see coming, and I'm really happy to say Central of Georgia. And I got to tell you, is that not a cool paint scheme? This is one of the better paint schemes of the time. I really enjoy this paint scheme, and I know a lot of you guys do. Central of Georgia purchased 11 GP9s in 2 orders. The first 6, 160 to 165, they were delivered in November of 1956. The second group, 166 to 170, was delivered in April of 1957. Now, between the 2 orders, there are differences, primarily with the frame and the fuel tanks. All were assigned to General Freight Pool. Number 170 was the last locomotive delivered in the gray and blue paint scheme you see here. So really, really important locomotive. We're offering 3 different road numbers in this run. First up, we've got number 160. This is based on the late 1950s paint scheme. It's first order with the larger fuel tank and the rearward side fuel fillers. Up next is 166. Again, the late 1950s, second order with the smaller fuel tank and the forward side fuel fillers. So see, even though they're in the same time, since they came from different orders, they have slightly different details. That is something that you're going to get with an Athearn Genesis locomotive. 170 is the other one. This is also a 1950s paint scheme. It is part of the second order with the smaller fuel tank and the forward side fuel fillers. Now, some of the other features on these guys, these are a phase 2 body GP9. Something that's really unique is they have dual Hancock whistles. That's really cool. And that's going to sound cool if you get the Tsunami 2 version. They're going to have full footboards. They are non-dynamic brake equipped. Side skirts and fuel tanks are per the prototype, or in this case, per the order. And we have delved deeply with Central of Georgia historical societies, modelers, and experts in their field to make sure that the colors and the artwork are correct. So something that we haven't done before as far as this road. I'm really happy to announce it. I know a lot of you guys were really happy to see these. Now, you can get these in 2 distinct different versions. You can get these as DC only. However, they are DCC ready, so you can put the decoder in of your choice, or if you just want to go old school, you can run these DC all day long. You can also purchase the Tsunami 2 equipped versions, which is going to give you the possibility of running not only taking advantage of all the DCC features, but as well as those sound features as well. Another thing too that you may not know, the Tsunami 2 equipped ones will work on an analog situation, which means if you're running a DC layout, you can definitely run these Tsunami 2 equipped locomotives on your layout. You just can't unlock all those cool DCC features. Now, the DC versions are MSRP right now is $219.99. And if you go for the sound with the Tsunami 2, they're $319.99. Contact your dealer for your price. The prices that I've quoted you here today, that is all based on MSRP. So your dealer will have your price. So you have until Friday, May 26th to place your pre-orders. So don't forget, get down to your dealer and order these locomotives, whatever road of choice that you have decided. I'm sure it's going to be a great addition to your fleet. So with that, I want to see who's got questions. We can take this time to ask some questions, and then I'm going to let you guys get back to working on your layouts or your whatever projects you have on your workbench. Yes, $319.99 for a GP9. Now, Reading, in case you didn't hear me, that is full MSRP. You need to check with your dealer to see what your price is. Keep in mind, too, that's an Athearn Genesis. That's going to be prototype specific to the road number as well as the road. And also that includes the Tsunami 2 decoder. Sean has a nice comment. He says, hey, Jim, the May releases look awesome. Good job to you and the team. Well, thank you. I don't actually choose a lot of the stuff. That is all on product development. They do get some of my input in a meeting on an annual basis, but most of the input actually comes from you. So thank you, our fans, for using the Athearn product suggestion inbox and giving us ideas for what to do next. Now, one of the things I do want to talk about is some of the things I've seen on social media in the last few days. There's a lot of CNJ fans out there. There's a lot of Wabash fans out there. There's a lot of fans that would have liked to have seen their railroad on the GP9s. And we're listening. Trust us. We don't have the capability right now to do those roads. There are some tooling things that we need to think about for future runs. But we do hear you, especially you guys, you CNJ guys, we hear you. We're hoping in the future that we can offer you the road that you've been waiting for. Let's see what other questions we have. Dave, I knew you were going to ask this. Do you have any of the Southern Railway GP9s left? I do not have any left in our DC here in Champaign, Illinois. That being said, do contact some of the larger online hobby shops. There's a possibility. I will say, though, that usually Athearn Genesis, it doesn't have a very long shelf life. It usually sells out quick. And Southern is one of those roads that does tend to sell rather quickly. That doesn't mean you're out in the lurch. You can also check some online auction sites, and you might get lucky to find one of those there. Andrew Garcia wants to know, any shoving platform cabooses in the near future? I do know the guys are working on some cabooses. What they're exactly going to be, I don't know yet. I don't have the full details, but I think you're going to be happy. It's probably going to happen later this year, maybe early 2024. So keep your eyes open on our social media and our live feeds. Let's see. Sid, has Athearn ever made covered hoppers that were used for the transport of fluoride? That's a tough question. I don't know of any off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure if I had seen that, at least in my tenure here, I would have recognized that, because that's something you don't see a lot of. Maybe in the past. I don't know off the top of my head in recent history if we've offered any that transported fluoride, but good question. Gunther, I think I saw your comment earlier in social media. What you need to do is go to our all new website And when you go to the all new website, select the maintenance department. That's going to get you in touch with a technician at Athearn. They will talk you through what you need to get, and also they will also recommend what things from soundtracks you would need too. So use our customer service email. I did see your comment in social media, and I didn't get a chance to recommend those actions, but by all means, contact our customer service. Richard Joseph says, what about some Boston and Maine and Maine Central love? You know what? I am a Boston and Maine Central fan. I am from Concord, New Hampshire, and I will never accept Illinois as home. It is a New Englander for life. And we've actually done quite a bit of Boston and Maine Central. So I'm sorry you missed out on those. I do like your locomotive you painted up there in the Bruins. So we have had Boston and Maine and GP9s in the last 2 years. We did the Allen Dustin Blue Dips GP9s. We've done some Maine Centrals. We've done, and just fact, last month we did some Maine Central stuff. So keep an eye out. We try to do a little bit of everything for everybody. There's a lot of railroads to cover in this part of the world. So keep your eyes open. There's always going to be some new Boston to Maine Central, and some other New England roads. A lot of guys asking for their specific roads like MBTA and RJ Corman. I don't know off the top of my head. Best thing to do again is to use the Athearn product suggestion email. That's going to be your best choice in getting those to product development. Now, again, Janik was nice enough to share on social media last week. Just because we don't reply doesn't mean we're not listening to you. You have to realize we get a lot of requests on a daily basis. In fact, John told me that after a Train Tuesday, his inbox goes up substantially. So be patient with us. We've got a lot of railroads to work through and a lot of different grounds to cover. But we are listening, and we really do appreciate you sending those emails our way. Jason, close. Loudon is what you're thinking of. Concord is home of Krista McAuliffe, actually. Fortunately, an astronaut from the Teacher in Space program that we no longer have, along with some other astronauts. But that is what Concord is really, one of the things Concord's known for, as well as the old Concord Yard for the Boston and Maine. Let's see. A lot of comments and requests. I want to see if anybody's got any questions about the GP9s or anything else that they saw in this past month. Rick Schmidt, good question. I'm going to put that up here. Any Genesis SD40-2s in the future? Well, as you know right now, the SD40-2 is part of the Athearn line. It was formerly part of the Ready to Roll line. Would it ever go into the Genesis? So we probably wouldn't be able to just add some detail parts to bring it up to Genesis quality. It would actually require, I wouldn't say all new molding and all new tooling, but there would be a lot of tooling updates to that in order for that to happen. Is it something that's on the horizon? I don't know, to be honest with you. Quite honestly, we've got product development working overtime right now, trying to get stuff done and trying to get stuff pushed out. So it's always a possibility, but I don't have a date for you if it does happen. Let's see. No worries, Jason. Loudon is like right next door to Concord, so not a problem. Dave, I appreciate your offer about your books on the Southern Railway. Please use our Athearn product suggestion email and let us know that. Gunther wants to know, when will the GP hit the market? If you're talking about these GP9s that we covered tonight, they're going to be out. They should be, barring any shipping delays. We should see those probably August or September of 2024. It takes about a little bit over a year to get everything in production and then shipped over here. Let's see. Missed a question up here. I'm going to scroll up. Frederick wants to know, do these new Jeeps have the new contact pins for the lights? No, they do not. If you're talking about what we've done with some of the former Genesis 2.0, like the 6-axles, they have that contact board so that you can easily remove the shell without a bunch of wires. No, not on these. At some point in the future, they may include that. That would probably mean more lighting features than what they include right now. But for right now, no, they do not have that feature. Got some new comments. I'm going to answer about one or two, and then I'm going to let you guys get back to it. Sid, he's waiting for his tunnel motors. August and September, if I remember right, Sid. So you don't have too much longer to wait. All right, one more question, and then you will have a chance to get back to your layout and the other cool stuff that's on your workbench. Late night model railroading. We're closed with this question. It's an excellent question. Late night wants to know, does Athearn intentionally try to keep road numbers as not being consecutive? Yeah, we do actually. So there's a couple of things that we do. Let's say we do a run of, we'll go with Union Pacific GP9s, those 3 numbers that you see this month. Now those, in that case, that was a big enough railroad that those locomotives were probably in their own numbering system, and they were used for a specific part of the Union Pacific system. In some cases, though, there may be 10 of those locomotives in that group. Now, what we'll do is we'll offer 3 road numbers. And then in the future, we may offer those same type of locomotives, but in different road numbers. Now, we do that for a couple of different reasons. One, if you're somebody that bought the original announcement and then wants to add to their fleet, that way you don't have any duplicates. You can order all 6 and not have to worry about duplicates. Likewise, if you simply didn't know about the first announcements, you have a chance to add those to your fleet, and then maybe later on you might find one at a train show or the online auctions. You might find the older one, and it's a chance for you to add to your fleet without having an identical number. So that's something that we do actually do. All right, so with that, I want to thank you all for joining us here tonight. Don't forget, you have until Friday, May 26th, to place your pre-orders. Keep your eyes open on our social media, where we'll be posting some interesting things in the next few weeks. Until next time, everybody, I want everybody out there to be happy, to be healthy, do some good modeling, and above all, high greens, everyone. Good night.